All right, we're on vacation here in Stuttgart, Germany. We're going to talk about the GoPro Hero 12. This is going to be a simple video, not a tech-laden, all these side-by-side videos where I'm going to dive into, pixel by pixel clarity between these cameras. This is going to be just the facts. This is the basics for someone wanting to know whether this is the best camera for them to go on vacation with. We're going to talk about just general usability, the video, audio features you might care about, and then two big deals at the end. That's it. Real simple. So let's get to it. And what better way to show you the differences between the GoPro Hero 12 and the DJI Action 4? Well, let's film the rest of this video with those two cameras. So let's switch cameras. All right, so we got both cameras set up right now. The audio is coming from the DJI mic, which is connected directly to the Action 4. That's one of its big pluses. Both cameras are in like a vivid or normal profile, 30 frames per second. The GoPro's in a 5.3K setting, and the Action 4 is in 4K 30. That's the highest it goes. They both have horizon balance on right now, just to level the playing field in case I move around with the cameras, but just that's how they're set up right now. Occasionally I'll do audio directly from the GoPro, as we are gonna hear right now, or you might hear the DJI Action 4 direct audio. Both microphones at a closer distance is pretty clear and is very, very usable. But let's just talk about the usability of both of these cameras, just because that's what most people care about. They don't really necessarily need the exact best camera for surfing, skydiving, or riding a mountain bike. All right, so let's talk about usability. And what separates these cameras, generally speaking, right off the bat that most people talk about is the general attachment philosophy. Now, they're in a tilted cage, both these cameras, and of course this is the Action 3 and I got the Hero 11 because I'm filming on the other cameras, but the philosophy hasn't changed. The Action 3 has a magnetic system which just allows you to go from selfie extension pole to tripod to mountain bike to motorcycle to helmet. Whatever you needed to do, this thing will just move from piece to piece, and it's got these little tiny locking fingers on the magnetic mount that just makes it easy to attach. The GoPro, on the other hand, hasn't changed over the years, and that's really one of the biggest disappointments, is that it relies on the attachment fingers that you have on the bottom of the GoPro to screw it in to the device. It just takes time. Now, it is more secure, so if you're putting on an airplane, a high-speed boat, or a car on the outside, maybe that's important to you. But for me, and I've had no problem with the security of the DJI system with the magnetic click. So that's one of the biggest usability concerns or decisions you need to make. Is this important to you? Flip between one or the other, or does it matter just screwing it in the old GoPro style? Another big concern for you might be the startup of these cameras. I, for the most part, use these cameras the same, and I don't turn them on and mess with them a ton. I just use the top button, quick start, and go. And for many generations, the DJI has been much faster in terms of quick startup for both these cameras. I'll put a little video here to show you the differences between the Hero 12 and the Action 4. DJI is just much faster, quick on the go. So for me, quick shot, wherever I happen to be, that's the feature I tend to use the most. It's just faster with the DJI. Next up is batteries. Both of these cameras use little tiny replaceable batteries. The Hero 12 actually uses the same Enduro batteries that we've had for several generations, and it's super cool. Now, out of the box, what separates these two is the DJI comes with this little tiny carrying case, which carries 3 batteries, also charges them in here directly by USB-C, has a green indicator for the status of it. It's either green, orange, or red. And then inside the lid is a way you can carry some additional micro SD cards. GoPro doesn't have that way. They still use the same batteries now, but good news, Telesun makes this little thing here, which has a 4-stop light section for each, and you can charge the batteries just like DJI. So really, at the end of the day, kind of a wash when it comes to batteries. You can either out of the box have the DJI, or, and a link in the description to this, the Telesun solution, which is very, very awesome. GoPro, you should just buy this and make it your own. Next on my usability list is the front screen on the camera. Now, they both have front screens. They're both very nice. They both show you what you're recording. You can turn them They'll go off, or you can keep them on the whole time you're recording, either way. But what separates these two is the DJI is a touchscreen. Action 3, Action 4, both a touchscreen. You can adjust the settings right from the front of the camera. GoPro still didn't do that in the GoPro 12. It's no different than the other cameras. And it's just, I can't tell you how many times I've touched the front screen to try to manipulate it. It doesn't work because it's not a touch screen. It's just another screen to see what you are. Now it is nice, you can see and frame your shots, but at the same time, it would be nice to be able to touch it and manipulate the settings, because in times when I have this thing mounted on my helmet, I can't get to the back screen. So I gotta use a different method, which is just kind of annoying. Just separates the cameras in terms of usability. Last in usability is how you're gonna film. Are you gonna film in landscape or a portrait mode? Now, both cameras sort of operate on a different philosophy. And for the DJI, you're going to either mount this thing in one mode or the other. The cage that comes with the camera, this is the Tilta one, does the same thing. You can mount it in either way. The cage that comes with it allows you to mount this thing vertically and shoot vertical video. Both cameras you can do 4.3 and crop it a little differently, but for the DJI, basically you're going to do one or the other, which, you know, you might be fine with that and just be able to commit. But if you want more flexibility, the GoPro, and you know, the same as the 11 and now the 12 have a mode where you can do full frame, and it's 8x7, nearly square, and then later on you can crop. So if you really weren't sure, film the whole thing in 8x7 and then crop it later, either vertically or horizontally down to 16:9. You are limited in terms of the lens, in terms of, you know, narrow, wide, etc. It's pretty much locked into wide. And that wraps up usability. Let's talk about really what these cameras do well, and that is video. Let's talk video, because really these cameras are cameras and you really care maybe about the resolution of both cameras. But let's be honest, do you really need 8K? Well, neither of them have that, but we don't have 8K. Do you need 5.3 versus 4? Both fantastic quality cameras. So to me, this is generally a wash. The GoPro does up to 5.3K, cool. Just allows you to crop in a little bit. The Action 4, of course it's the 3, the Action 4 that we're filming with actually has a bigger sensor. So 1/1.9, 1/1.3. So when it really comes down to it, one's got higher resolution, one has a bigger sensor. So they kind of almost wash each other out. I've watched a lot of video comparing them in low light, doing different activities, and you know, people are asking which one looks better. The bottom line is they both look really, really good, and in certain settings, one does better than the other. So at the end of the day, video quality on both these cameras is just good enough for me, and they're both fantastic. You won't be disappointed for the picture on either of these cameras. There is one big deal in the video category, and that is HDR. The GoPro Hero 12 has an HDR mode. It's either normal, HDR, or log. The HDR mode does a high dynamic range, and it just brings up the shadows and gives you a full picture. This video is in HDR mode just because I knew it was in the shadows, just to give you some idea what the detail looks like. The Action 4, actually, the Action 3 had an HDR mode. The Action 4 does not. Why? Dive into the frequently asked questions. DJI says the Action 4 natively does everything in a high dynamic range, so you don't need it. So it's just on all the time. So that's the difference between both these cameras with HDR. That's what you're looking at right now. And really, that high dynamic range for me is one of my big deals. Next on my list is audio capabilities of the cameras. And there's a few details we need to discuss about this. First, the microphones in both of these cameras is fantastic. For instance, here is the GoPro out of the camera video, and about 18 inches away from the camera. Not really a big difference in terms of microphones right built into the camera. As we go beyond that, things get a little more complicated. Now, the only way to get a little bit better microphone out of the GoPro is to use the media mod. It works with the GoPro Hero 12, same thing as the 11, has a better shotgun mic and the ability to attach external microphones. The big advantage for the DJI Action 4 for me is the ability to attach the DJI mic directly to the side of the camera so that you can record from this microphone, which you can walk away and just use that microphone in multiple locations so that it just brings great audio. It comes with 2 microphones, you can have a conversation, you can use them in different modes. Just the flexibility and the audio quality out of this microphone is just fantastic and highly recommend. You can't connect the DJI mic directly to the GoPro Hero 12, at least not that I've found. However, not really the end of the world, because this thing is actually recording right in the microphone, and so that you can use that backup recording later if for some reason you had a problem. A little bee flying right around the microphone. Lastly, when it comes to audio, the big deal about the GoPro Hero 12 was the ability to connect Apple AirPods or other Bluetooth devices directly to the camera. And so I'm gonna connect these, and then we're gonna see what you think about the audio quality. All right, so now we have the AirPods connected, and what's cool about the AirPods being connected is you can do multiple things. You can control it voice, so I could walk across here, start the recording without touching the camera. You can mount the camera outside of your vehicle and use it that way. That's really what most people have touted is really the main use. But what I really want to talk about is the audio quality. Right now you're hearing the audio quality out of the AirPods. I'm gonna walk away so you can just generally speaking hear how the quality degrades. It really doesn't sound that great, to be honest, even this close. The good point though is that the GoPro now records multiple tracks. So you're gonna get the audio from the AirPods, and you can also choose the audio right out of the camera if that's what you chose to do. So pick the best audio for your conditions and what you really like. So the audio quality that you get out of the AirPods degrades with the distance using Bluetooth. So I'm gonna walk away and just see how this sounds. Recording from the Bluetooth AirPods probably start to sound pretty crappy, somewhere in this vicinity of about 30 feet, and there you go. So that's how it sounds as you walk away from the camera using that Bluetooth connection with the AirPods. You can connect multiple devices, but like I said, later in post-processing, you can choose which audio track is best for you. So for me, kind of gimmicky, but most useful for controlling the camera when it's not within reach. All right, wrapping this up. So here are some random topics that you might be concerned about, but for me are just not that big of a deal. Overheating, really not an issue if you're moving or doing quick clips. GPS deleted, yeah, it's deleted in the GoPro Hero 12. But I have to believe they're coming up with a solution to that. Maybe another remote, an updated remote that has GPS in it, like everybody else, like the Insta360 video, which here's a little Insta360 video of the overlays you get with that, or the Action 4, which does it from the remote. Both of those use a remote control to bring the GPS back to the camera. Maybe GoPro will do the same. Slow charging, yeah, the GoPro batteries are terrible when it comes to charging. The DJI Action 4 is just wicked fast when it comes to charging. Log files, both cameras now have it, so if you want to color grade your videos later on, now you can do it. Screen preview, yep, it's back. When I'm watching or recording a video with the GoPro, now I can preview what's being recorded on my phone. The GoPro Hero 11, for whatever reason, couldn't do that. Now the 12, it's back. Megapixels for photos, the GoPro's got 27 megapixels, the DJI is limited to 10. Night effects, both cameras do night effects, and they're awesome. I've done several with the GoPro Hero 11. Haven't had a chance to really compare these side by side for those night effects, but they are super cool. Time code, both cameras now have the time code capability. An Invisi-Stick, no way to remove the invisible stick on the GoPro. That's a DJI thing, which I talked about that in a previous video. It is wicked cool. All right, so I'm walking away from the sun intentionally now to show you really one of two of my big deals. The number one big deal is HDR video. And again, the GoPro now brings HDR video to the mix, and this is what we're recording in. It's a HDR mode. The DJI 4, Action 4, doesn't have an HDR setting, but like I said, according to their frequently asked questions, it is natively doing high dynamic range. So you don't need a setting for it like you did in the Action 3. They both are now recording in HDR. So this is how they look in varied shadowed settings. So you can see the difference of the highlights as the cameras record HDR. That's one of my two big deals. Let's talk about my last big deal. And it is kind of a big deal, kind of a max big deal. All right, so my last big deal the Max Lens 2.0. We had a Max Lens 1.0 before. It was awesome. It just didn't let you record in such a high quality, up to 4K or 5.3K. Now we get a very nice 4K 60 quality in the Max Lens 2.0. Super cool, super wide perspective in case you're, doing something really cool and you want that 177 degrees lens capability that the GoPro Hero 12 now has with the Max Lens. Before I go, here's some sample footage I took on my motorcycle to show you the different perspectives that you get from the Max Lens 2.0, stepping it down from the Max Hyper View to Super View to wide, and then down stepping through the capabilities of the camera natively in its normal lens. So take a look at that. Meanwhile, we're gonna enjoy the day out here in Stuttgart. Super nice day, fantastic. The weather's fantastic, people are out. It's a Friday here, and yeah, hope to see you in the next video. Most of my videos are not about action cameras. They're actually about backpacks and other gear to get you outside. So if you like this one, give it a thumbs up, helps other people see it. Subscribe to the channel. We'll see you in the next one. See ya. Right off the bat, what's wait till these vehicles go by. It's a busy day out here. All right, my third section is audio quality as the train goes by. And for most of these things, for me, as I walk away, I generally speaking hope that the quality train